This is All of It from WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. A new independent film looks at the question, can a friendship survive a romance, especially when the new love interest threatens something that is important? It's called The Travel Companion. In the film, we meet Simon, a documentary filmmaker struggling to find his footing in the industry. He's at a little bit of a dead-end job. He did make a film for his thesis a few years ago, and he has been milking it. Then there's Bruce, his support bud, who works for an airline and allows Simon to use his travel companion perks to shoot all over the world, even though Simon has no clue what the film is about yet. However, their bromance is put to the test when Beatrice enters the picture. She's a slightly more accomplished filmmaker with a steady roster of commercial clients, and it seems she also has the keys to Bruce's heart. Who will be Bruce's travel companion in the future? The Travel Companion is playing at BAM through Thursday, April 16th. Co-directors and writers Alex Malice. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
And Travis Wood are here. Hi, Travis.
Hey.
To talk a little bit about it. Thanks for coming to the studio.
Yeah, we're super excited. Thank you.
All right, Travis, you experienced being a travel companion.
Yes.
All right, explain this to me.
So basically, my buddy works for an airline, and he can pick one person that gets free privileges, the same that he gets. And basically, you can take a flight anywhere on standby for free. So if there's an open seat, you can take it. And that's literally anywhere. So I've been using it for years to just see the entire world.
So when did you decide that would be a great jumping off point for a film?
Well, I was walking around with Alex at a film festival, and I was telling him, like, oh, my buddy's got a new girlfriend. I think I might lose it. And he thought that was so funny. We immediately started just riffing ideas, and that was kind of the first inception point.
What was interesting to you about that idea?
I think it was just funny enough and maybe just dumb enough that it felt like, why not? You know, I think Travis and I are both short filmmakers. We'd made a lot of shorts together and apart for many years. And there was always this big chasm between making a feature film. It felt like this huge, giant thing that I think I maybe subconsciously was always feeling like, oh, it has to be perfect. If I'm going to make a feature film, it has to be this big, grand statement that, you know, does a lot. And when we were walking that day and this idea came out, it kind of had this perfect counterpoint. Like, this is a small idea with a lot of big implications that feels easy. It feels fun. Let's just go. Let's move forward with that.
Yeah, as Alex said, you guys have directed short films for a while. Travis, how did working on short films prepare you to co-direct an entire feature film?
Yeah, in many ways, I think it gave me the confidence and I think the style of what I would want out of this, and also the trust in Alex. You know, we'd worked on a lot of projects together, and so I knew that we could come together and like do a good job and see it through. Like, making a feature is like an endless amount of work for at least a couple years, so you want to have someone you really trust if you're going to do a co-direction.
How did you know you would be able to co-direct with Travis?
I think actions speak louder than words.
Oh.
Travis shows up. He shows up and he gives 110% on everything. He's just attacks, and it's like that's what you want in a partner. I think Travis was joking. What did you say about like always wanting another?
Oh yeah, I joked. I was like, I always wanted two of me, and then I met Alex.
Well, how did you guys figure out a way to give your individual input to the script and input to the actors, but not step on each other's toes?
That's a good question. We had a third co-writer and producer on the film, Weston Auburn, and the three of us got together. And I think it was more about making it as easy as possible for ourselves. There's so many hurdles that one creates when writing. You stare at this blank page and you're like, how do I begin? Where do I go? It feels so intimidating. And having three people, sort of this ad hoc writer's room, to say, let's bullet point, let's get ideas, and then maybe at the end of the session sort of assign a scene. And then you just have one scene that you have to work on in a week instead of this sort of open-ended assignment, and we'd come back together. And then we would sort of pass it around. And I think in general, more to your question, it often fell to who was most passionate, who felt the strongest about something, who believed in the vision of something the most, and more often than not, we would defer to that.
Travis, what was something that you really believed in that you had to not fight for, but you had to say, I really think this should be a part of this film?
You know, Alex, I feel like we have like a lot of the same sort of style and interest, so there's not a ton of things like that. I think sometimes my producerial brain can maybe go a little farther than my directing brain. So I feel like sometimes there would be times where I was like, I don't think we have time for that. Like, I would actually be in that headspace a little more, pushing to be like, let's trim it down maybe. But for the most part, we are on the same page.
I mean, one thing you pushed for was shooting in an airport. We when we were sharing the script around, people say, great job, looks good. How are you going to shoot in an airport? That sounds impossible. And Travis was always the one who would just kind of wink and say, just you watch, we'll figure it out.
Do I want to know how you figured it out or no?
Yeah. Well, we did sort of the more traditional route for a small upstate airport in Westchester, New York, where we got a permit to shoot in this section that they have. And then for the sort of montage scenes where Simon is running around the airport, missing flights and sort of waiting around, I bought a one-way refundable ticket, entered through TSA with a very small camera, and Tristan, the actor, and I just spent about 4 hours in the Delta terminal just stealing shots. And it was so surprising how little anyone cared. Started sort of holding it close to my chest. I can get a quick shot before anyone notices. Next thing you know, I have it on a small tripod. And then finally, I'm sprinting through the airport following him. And no one even turned. No one blinked an eye.
Wow. It's an independent film.
That's right.
It's called The Travel Companion. It's screening at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, BAM, now through next Thursday, April 16th. I'm speaking with its co-directors and co-writers, Alex Malice and Travis Wood. Let's talk about the characters a little bit. The film opens up, Travis. It's a post-Q&A festival with various directors, and our protagonist Simon, he doesn't even get a chance to speak. They just like, and we're done. Why did you want to introduce us to him that way?
That was one of the first scenes that I think came up, because we were at a festival and we were one of those Q&A filmmakers. So I think we just thought it'd be really funny, and also to kind of put him in, to show you his place in the world and how he is kind of missing a little opportunity. And so we just thought it was perfect to say, like, okay, let's open on a main character who doesn't even get to speak in the opening scene.
Alex, that's a really interesting point that you guys are filmmakers. Did you ever go to a festival where you saw other filmmakers? They're sort of showing off what they've done.
Yeah, short film Q&As probably deserve their own, full series, the sort of synchronicities of them. I think, I think people maybe take up too much space, or they just give a one-word answer, and it's tough because I don't know what the right way to do it is. There's 10 people up on stage and sometimes even less in the audience, and you're kind of going down the line. And it's a very exciting moment. It's sort of the peak, the celebratory moment of a short's life, but it can also be a little frustrating when you feel like maybe you only get to say a couple of words.
What's going on with Simon when we meet him?
Well, Simon has just been milking his thesis film for maybe the last several years, and he's working on a documentary that he really can't describe. And that documentary is utilizing these travel benefits. So he's kind of going all over the world. He's filming stuff, but he doesn't really know what he's quite making yet. Mm-hmm. And when we meet him, he is, towards the end of that milking run with his best friend and roommate, Bruce.
Yeah, he he describes his film to someone as it's being about his Midwestern roots, and he describes it as, quote, a nostalgia piece, travelogue about past, present, and future, a eulogy for a long history, political that's not liberal, but liberal-leaning. He keeps going on and on with all of these, a word salad, basically. What version of success is he really looking for?
I think he just wants to move forward, and his character in that moment, I think, is representative of something that I certainly feel, and I think a lot of artists and filmmakers feel, where you have an idea in your head, and when it's inside your head, it's perfect. You don't have to explain every part of it because you don't have to put words to it, and it feels safe there. It feels good there, and it can even make you feel confident just knowing that you have this potential idea. But the moment you start to kind of put it on the page or start to shoot it or maybe make a rough cut, it starts to look bad. You shine light on it and it's messy, it's imperfect, and that can really knock the wind out of your sails. And so Simon, I think, is maybe subconsciously allowing himself to stay in that potential period because that's what feels best.
When you think about Simon, what does he envision for his future? He just told me what he thought. What do you think about Simon?
I think he really does envision being like a very successful working filmmaker. I think he really sees himself being at the top. but doesn't see how to get there. And so until he gets there, what's really cool and special is that he can fly for free and he can see the world. And that's what he can add to the conversation, is these places he's been in lieu of having like a successful art piece to point to.
We're talking about the film The Travel Companion. It's screening at Brooklyn Academy of Music through next Thursday. After the break, we'll talk about those travel vouchers and what happens next. This is all of it. You're listening to All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. Joining me in studio is Alex Malice and Travis Wood. They are co-directors and co-writers of the new film, The Travel Companion. It's screening at the Brooklyn Academy of Music now through Thursday, April 16th. It's about a aspiring filmmaker and his friend and how their romance is upended. All right, let's talk about the friend, Bruce. He's kind of a normie. He works at a stable job at an airline. Travis, tell us about the role that Bruce plays in Simon's life.
Bruce is kind of the rock. You know, him and Bruce have been friends for a long time, and he's home. You know, he's been around for so long, and I think in many ways they've kind of outgrown this friendship when we meet them. Like, maybe they wouldn't be friends if they met today, but since they met, you know, in elementary school, they're still here, they're still living together, they still have this shared history that keeps them together.
How much does Simon give back to Bruce in the relationship, Alex?
Not enough. He's, I think, like Travis said, there's a lot of routine that is born of this long-term friendship, and it's pretty clear, it should be pretty clear pretty quickly in the film that Simon is taking it for granted.
Who plays Simon? Tell us a little bit about the actor.
Oh my gosh, Tristan Turner, shout out. He was amazing. He is our star. We worked with this incredible casting director, Alan Scott Neal, and he was sending us tapes, and he flagged this tape that Tristan sent in and said, I think this is your guy. We watched it, and even before we heard his voice, we knew this is the guy. He looks like the guy. This guy looks like he could be an experimental filmmaker, and when we heard his tape, he just nailed it. He got it, and he was so easy to work with and so naturalistic, which was a huge focus of ours when we were talking about developing the project. It was like, we want these scenes, if nothing else, we want them to feel real and lived in. And Tristan was able to deliver that.
You definitely get them when they're out exercising.
Yes.
Like you can feel that, oh, those are two guys I passed in the park, easy.
Yeah, it's a tough role to play because on the page, especially before we shot it, reading the script, the character's quite abrasive, this character of Simon. And it was like, I think a big goal of ours in casting and then shooting and editing and everything was to bring a sense of empathy to that. And Tristan was instrumental in achieving that.
Yeah, because at times you're like, Simon, come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
The cringe.
Yeah, but you sort of feel like, come on, dude, you get it. You'll get it. You'll get out of this situation. And he just can't get it out of his own way.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit about who plays Bruce.
So Bruce is played by Anthony Oberbeck, and he's an incredible comedic actor. He's got like an improv background, and yeah, he brought a ton of just good lines to the film even. You know, I remember on set he would be kind of like doing the most improv out of everyone and surprising us and just keeping it really fresh. Like, I think he kept everybody on their toes. You know, he's really patient in his performance. He doesn't rush it, and he's really in the moment. You know, I think at one point he even said something to Tristan in the scene, and Tristan was like, is Anthony like actually mad at me? Or is he just like, is the character like, is he so in character? You know?
How do you deal with improv when you're on an indie budget?
We welcomed it. I think the improv, Anthony was really smart in that the improv he did was expanding on what we had. It's not like he would throw it out and do something completely different. So it wasn't ever an issue, and it was 9 times out of 10 something we would welcome, and most of the time improved the performances, improved the feel, that real feeling, that lived in feeling that we were going for.
Simon is working sort of a dead end job. What is he doing exactly?
So that was actually inspired by Alex's one of his first jobs here in New York City, but he is filming the ads on top of taxi tops for an advertising agency.
And why does he feel like it's just going nowhere?
I think he finds it, you know, from a filmmaking perspective, I think he finds it sort of emasculating. It's technically what he wants to do, hold a camera, film stuff. He's a filmmaker. but what he's doing is so sort of lifeless and lacking in creativity that it's quite unfulfilling for him.
We got a question from our listeners about your film. It says, I have a question for directors Alex and Travis. I watched The Travel Companion on a flight recently and was curious who the actor was who played the office boss. He was only in 2 scenes, but so funny. I thought I recognized him, but I couldn't place him.
Oh my gosh. That is so amazing. That is my good friend, Peter Fairman, who is an actor. And he showed up just for those 2 scenes. His day job is kind of that. I don't know if you'd appreciate me saying this, but he does work in advertising, so he was able to really nail the role. And I would love to work with him again and work with him more.
We're talking about the film The Travel Companion. Its co-directors and co-writers are joining me in studio, Alex Malice and Travis Wood. All right, Beatrice, she's actually introduced pretty early in the film. She becomes a love interest for Bruce. She's also a filmmaker. She's a little better off than Simon is, where he is right now. How does her relationship with Bruce put a spotlight on Simon's insecurities? Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think to start, just being a more successful filmmaker in the picture is very stressful for Simon. Being that close to someone who is kind of living out where he wants to be at. And so, in addition to that, now she could potentially take the one thing he does have, which is these flight benefits. So it's like a double whammy for Simon that he really can't handle. Like, I think if she wasn't a filmmaker, he might be able to go about it a little bit better.
Well, let's listen to from The Travel Companion. This is a scene between Simon and Bruce, and you'll get the picture.
Listen, man, I know that you're eventually gonna, like, give the flights to your future wife or something, but I'm still good for now, right?
Yeah, you're good for now, bro.
Right, but, like, what if you, I don't know, start getting, like, serious with somebody?
Now that you mention it, I guess we'd have to see how we travel together, huh?
What? Wait, we travel great together.
No. Not you and me.
All right, this is about more than just travel perks. What is Simon really getting at? What is Simon afraid of losing?
He is, whether or not he could admit it to himself, he is afraid of losing this friendship. And I think that is a central tension that we were exploring. Simon's inability to see what is right in front of him, to acknowledge the truth of what's happening. And he is so hyper-focused on these flights, on losing these flights, and there's a bit of truth in that. He doesn't want to lose this amazing perk, but I think deep down inside he understands that maybe this is a crucial moment in his friendship, and one that he doesn't want change. He doesn't want to lose this.
Yeah, it's sort of a subtext of The Travel Companion is sort of this broader conversation about male loneliness, What did you want to explore about male loneliness in this film? Travis, and I'll ask Alex.
Yeah, I think just communication struggles. Yeah, I think, this film would be over a lot quicker if they just had like one honest conversation at the top. But I think with men sometimes in these friendships, it can be kind of a like, don't say it, just let it be. And so that's kind of a struggle throughout the entire film, is like not really talking about what they're talking about.
What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, exactly. I think we joked a little about how, there's the cliche of horror films where if there had just been a cell phone call in the first 3 minutes, the film would be over. And similar with this film, where if these men would just talk to each other and be honest. I think there's another trope where it's like, a guy comes back from maybe like a weekend with the boys, and the partner would say like, how are they? How's their life? How's their job? How's their respective partners? And I have no idea. All we talked about was, stupid stuff. Excuse me.
This is all of it on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. My guests are the co-directors and co-writers, Alex Malice and Travis Wood. The film is called The Travel Companion. What was it like to film in New York?
Oh, it was a pleasure. We're both New Yorkers, and we used it to our advantage. When we were writing the script, we were thinking about places that we knew, both from a story perspective and also from a producing perspective. These are places we have access to. Our friend owns a camera store. That's the bodega that I go to, and I know the guy. My partner works at a cinema, Dara Messenger, and we can shoot there, DCTV. And so we really just wanted to kind of go to the places that felt familiar and places that we had access.
What do you hope, Travis, is that people will take away from the film?
I hope people, a lot of people, they don't like Simon when they watch the film, but I think I hope that they can kind of reflect on themselves and their own relationships and find some empathy for this character.
What do you hope that people take away from the film?
Yeah, very similar. Simon is a tricky character. I think we've come to look to Hollywood films or films in general as like these hero stories. We want to see the best parts of ourselves on camera or on the screen, I should say. Yeah. And with Simon, it's kind of the opposite. You're forced to look at maybe some of the less appetizing parts of yourself.
The Travel Companion is playing at BAM through Thursday, April 16th. I've been speaking with its co-directors and writers, Alex Malice and Travis Woods. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.